There are a few that are late. Ingo does have a follow-up question. If you would like to go ahead, Ingo, please do.
Yes, thank you very much. This is a different topic. Tom, you talked about the Fermi Paradox sometimes, and I was thinking about that. And you said we live, also this is a probability-based virtual simulation we lived in. And my assumption was that this would make the Fermi Paradox obsolete, because the answer would be, if you search long enough, you will find life on other planets, because each planet have to be a certain probability for a host to host life. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I disagree with that last statement, that it means that just because it's potentially there, it has a probability that has to be reckoned with. If it's just potential, it may not be probable at all. You see, you're kind of mixing things here, and that is the Fermi paradox. Just ask the questions, why aren't they here? Why aren't extraterrestrials here in our neighborhood? We ought to be able to see them. Not only should we be able to detect them, but they should be everywhere. They should be living on the moon. They should have establishments every place that we can look, because normal migration that is pushed by crowding, so you have to move out to other new spaces just because it's getting crowded where you are, just at the normal rate that living things expand in their space and want to go out and move to other spaces, then we live in a part of the universe that's much, much younger than the oldest part of the universe. So there's another part of the universe where there should be plenty of planets and suns and things like the Earth, should be lots of those, and they're 1 billion years older than we are. In other words, they've been evolving for 1 billion years longer than we have. Well, they should have technology that's 1 billion years more advanced than us, at least some, and 1 billion years is an awfully long time. And given the pressures of population, they should have been here. They should have come through this part of the universe and on past it a long, long time ago. And because they have to share the same periodic table that we do, because this is universe, there's some basic things, electromagnetics, elements, things, they're kind of stuck with the same stuff we are. Then we understand some of those things enough that we should be able to notice the trails that they would have to leave. If, it would be really unlikely that where we live is full of extraterrestrials and we don't notice them. That the physicists don't see the trails, the tracks. They don't see the energy, the heat, the electromagnetic, the X-rays, the gamma rays, the things that have to be done in our universe, because that's the way our universe works. That's the physics of our universe. We all share the same physics. It's not like part of the universe has a different physics. They may have more advanced physics, but they still have to deal with the same kind of things that we deal with. So in any case, that was the Fermi Paradox. Is that, where are they? They should be here by now, and they should be here in such quantity and for so long that it should be obvious that we look out with our instruments, we should see them. There should be lots of foot tracks in the sand. And because it's a virtual reality, as I say, it's possible that one answer to the Fermi Paradox is why we don't have, why the physicists can't find that kind of footprints in the sand out there, is that since it's a virtual reality, The only part of it that's necessary as an entropy reduction trainer is Earth. That's it. The system created this reality as an entropy reduction trainer. That's its purpose. And if Earth, with its now 7.5 billion people, if that's enough seats in the trainer to optimize entropy reduction for the larger conscious system, then it's gotten everything out of it that it wants. Anything more would be unwelcome seats. If you have more seats in the simulator, then there's more overhead, more data streams that have to be generated and sent out to all the other, other individuated units of consciousness that would be on other planets or other places. So the system may just have as many as it needs, as many as it wants, and just not ever develop any of the rest of it. And one thinks that right away, of course, the objection to that is, oh, but look at all that waste. You couldn't waste all those suns and planets and stuff are out there and there's nothing happening on them. That just doesn't make sense. Well, there is no waste. There are no other planets out there. It's just we see dots of light in the sky. We see trillions of suns, and we assume there must also be planets. But all those trillions of suns is just dots of light on our instruments. That's all. Remember, what we get from our instruments, what we get from our senses, which includes our senses looking at our instruments, is a data stream. It's all just a data stream. All those suns and all the potential planets and all that stuff don't have to exist at all. In other words, they're not actually there. They're just simulated as dots of light. So they don't have a probability of having life on them because they don't really exist. They're just simulated dots of light. And they're there for us because that is then consistent with how this rule set developed this virtual reality. So when we look out there in that outer space, we're going to see trillions of suns because that's the way it would be, given the way this universe evolved. Okay, that is a possibility. But if the only thing that was of interest is this one little planet sitting somewhere on the arm of one galaxy, then that's enough. Everything else doesn't exist, doesn't have probability of being anything. It's never gotten past a dot of light as far as reality is concerned. So the rest of it doesn't have to exist at all. Therefore, it doesn't have any probability of being anything at all. The Earth is the only thing there, and that indeed we are alone. Now, I don't offer that as a fact. I offer that as a possibility. That's just one strong solution to the Fermi Paradox. That's all. You have to realize that when we talk about these big picture things, we're talking about possibilities. If I were to tell you, yeah, and that's the way it is, and it can't be any other way, well, that would be a good reason not to pay any attention to what I say, because there is no certainty about these things. You just look at the possibilities. This is one of the possibilities, is that we are alone. This is a virtual reality. And all of that stuff that seems like it's potential places for ETs to live doesn't actually exist. It's never rendered at any more level of detail than a dot of light. That's it. So that is a possibility and should be seen as a possibility. Now, I'm sure other people will have other viewpoints like, well, I saw an alien. I've been in an alien spaceship. I've got alien artifacts. And yes, but all of those things are nothing more than what's in your data stream. This is a virtual reality. A virtual reality is your reality is created by the data stream you get. And that can include aliens and alien spaceships and, six-legged creatures and creatures with, little pointy green ears and all sorts of things. It can include all sorts of things that are not don't seem to be, what can we say, causally related to our planet. They don't have to be. It's just information in a virtual reality. So, a possibility. That's all. Just a possibility.
Okay, thank you. What I'm thinking about was they do these analysis with this telescope where the planet crossed in front of the sun, and then they analyze the light spectrum and assume or measure what elements are in this atmosphere of this planet or something like that. And I was thinking about if you are in a probability-based reality and you do this often enough, I don't know, 100,000 or a million planets, maybe then in a probability-based reality, it is likely that you find one planet with life.
But that's only true, Ingo, if all those things actually exist. If they've never been rendered other than as a dot of light, then there isn't anything there. And we may go look, and we may look at it and say, here's its atmosphere, and it's got this, and it's got that, and life could go on there. And that's probably true in millions of places. Well, all of that's just probability. It's just data in a data stream. It doesn't necessarily mean that the rendering engine has rendered that thing anything more than what the telescope has seen. So it may never have been rendered to have life or to have anything else. So the telescope looks at it, and we get an answer. If what we have are enough seats in the simulator, then any more seats just cost more overhead and don't return much. The rest of it would never have been allowed to evolve past that, because it's unnecessary, more seats than required. So that's the possibility. Now, of course, there's other possibilities, and that is that all those things, there's literally millions of planets out there, that have life on them. That's another possibility. It's just you have to look at these possibilities, and if that's a possibility, then the Fermi paradox becomes a serious paradox. Well, if that's the case, and there's millions of those out there, and they're all through the old section, then where are they? Why don't we see them? Why can't we see stray, electromagnetic radiation? Because they have to deal with electromagnetic radiation too. When the things that they do have to work with the same physics that we have to work with. The physics goes with the universe, not with the planet. So if they have to deal with the same physics we do, even if they know a whole lot more physics than we do, and we're still in baby physics and they're in advanced physics, still, their advanced physics still has to have some things that we should be able to see, because physics is physics. They still have to have momentum. They still have to have gravity. They still have to have E&M. They still have to have all these things. They still have to be limited by the periodic table, pretty much. That's what's here in the universe. And if so, we should be able to spot, it's like, you're hovering over New York City, and you look down at New York City and you don't see anybody. It's empty. You don't see anybody at all. And you should think, surely if there's life in New York City, we should see, somebody should be out on the street. There ought to be at least one car on the highway, but we don't see anything. So then we come to the conclusion that there's nobody in New York City, rather than, well, they're all there. I'm sure they're there. We just can't see them for some reason. That's kind of where you're going with that. We know they should be there. We just can't see them for some reason. But that's a big stretch, because the Fermi paradox is a pretty strong paradox. It's it have to be dealt with logically, I guess. And looking at it from a virtual reality is just one possible explanation. I think it's probably the strongest explanation for that the system doesn't need any more seats in this particular virtual reality. It's got enough. If every planet that could sustain life that is possible within a universe like ours, maybe be way, way more IUOCs than is useful to the system. So it's just never developed any of the rest of it.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom.